Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm your host, the Heebie-Jeebiest, and in this video I will be presenting a list of the top unusual encounters and creatures of Yosemite National Park. First, I ask that you please help support my channel by liking the video and by subscribing. Thank you. Yosemite National Park, located in California's Sierra Nevada mountains, is certainly a place of mystic wonder. It's an absolute must for those planning a trip to California. The natural features here are breathtaking. Yosemite is known for its natural features such as granite cliffs, waterfalls, clear streams, and ancient sequoia groves. With a wide array of attraction and things to do, the park sees an average visitor count of roughly 2 to 4 million visitors per year. The 1,169 square mile area was established as a national park on October 1, 1890, as the third on the list of protected United States parks. With all of the awesome beauty Yosemite has to offer, there is also a very dark aspect. As with most serene places, a lot of people turn up missing or have been killed. Between 2018 to 2020, it is said that there have been approximately 732 search and rescue incidents, but it's uncertain how accurate that number is. But from looking at the posted statistics, that is almost doubled for Yellowstone. The number of reported deaths is significantly higher than Yellowstone as well. From 2007 to 2018, Yosemite tops the list second at 133 deaths after Grand Canyon. Keep in mind that national parks are kind of lax when it comes to providing this kind of information to the public in the database. Although Yosemite's terrain may be more treacherous than Yellowstone, I find it particularly odd that for an area almost 3 times smaller, there are over double the mishaps, and they are blamed mostly on falling or drowning. I'd like to point out that when looking for accurate and specific numbers pertaining to deaths and missing persons, you're not going to get a straight answer concerning Yellowstone. I've heard different calculations. On Yellowstone, one source said that there were only 300 deaths since 1870. Another said that there were 5 to 6 deaths per week. Another source claimed that there were 50 deaths in 12 years. The same inaccuracies apply to Yosemite. I have yet to find consistent information, so I suppose the appropriate answer for how many deaths and missing persons occur in national parks, it would simply be a lot. The true statistics is just not there for us to see. I understand Yosemite staff must remain presentable and professional about their information for the sake of the park's reputation, and I, as many others, believe that there may be something sinister or paranormal or both here at play. Now, moving on. Some of these deaths and missing person cases are just unusual as in against nature, and I know many of you feel that way strongly or slightly skeptical yet open-minded, which is the best way to be in my opinion. I have compiled a list of unusual phenomena and creatures that are rumored to be a mysterious part of Yosemite's secrecy. Keep in mind, when doing research, I generally avoid online forums or websites where there are just stories being told, unless the source is credible. I also look at local news media and videos of witnesses discussing events. You can usually, but not always, tell who's being dishonest. Forums are often not very legitimate in my opinion, except in some cases. Fresno Nightcrawler, also known as the Fresno Alien, has made 2 appearances in Fresno, California, and in Yosemite National Park. The Fresno Nightcrawler is a cryptid that seems like a long pair of legs and not much else. It is described as being pale and between half of a meter to 2 meters tall. It is usually very skinny and is without arms. Some appear to have webbing between their legs and torso. In 2011, one was seen in Yosemite National Park. A retired couple set up a security camera after having trouble with break-ins. The footage does seem a bit silly, but this is attributed to Yosemite nonetheless. WeirdFresno.com creator Michael Banty concluded that the unusual cryptid is now so popular thanks to social media picking up on a few videos, as Chupacabra, Mothman, and Bigfoot. The first video of the Fresno Nightcrawler was taken in 2007 by a man who has since died in a car accident, although it is said that there were more reports as early as the 1990s. There's been a handful of sightings since, the most recent one being in Montana. Not much is known about these creatures, but there is speculation that it may be some type of alien. The mythology of the Nightcrawlers may be ancient and that Native American totems have depicted the creature, but there is no hard evidence to support this claim. Bigfoot. And of course, this list would not be complete without mentioning Bigfoot. It is known by many names, although Bigfoot is usually attributed to the mountainous western regions of North America. North American settlers started reporting sightings during the late 1800s. Second to the state of Washington, California has the most reported Bigfoot sightings in the U.S. Yosemite is believed to be the very first home of Bigfoot, and with sightings that are more frightening in nature. From BigfootEncounters.com, Cindy Sherrill, June 24, 2004. Tuolumne County, California, Yosemite. My son wrote me from Yosemite about a Bigfoot encounter. My son Rob is a 19-year-old who is working from the California Conservation Corps cleaning and building trails up there this summer. He wrote me to tell me there's a Bigfoot up there. Then he called a few hours ago to tell me the story. Seems a worker up there was camping in the Tuolumne Meadows somewhere near a lake. He mentioned Miguel Meadows, near Lake Vernon in Yosemite, which is a telltale mountain, as a hot spot for weird and unusual happenings. He was in his tent ready to go to sleep. Then he heard something come running down a hill toward his tent. The feet were hitting the ground with a great thud, and it was bipedal. He told my son that he wasn't scared because he considered himself a dead man at that point. He just needed to decide whether to get out of the tent and run. He figured that would trigger the animal's impulse and chase and kill him, or to get out of the tent and try to pretend he was bigger than whatever was out there. He chose the latter. He got out of the tent and let out the loudest scream he could, which was returned just about in his face by a much louder scream. The scream was so loud it was deafening, and the guide described it as blood-curdling. It scared him very badly. After the creature screamed, it ran off. It was dark, and the guide described what he saw as something tall with black fur, and it looked to weigh about 600 pounds. It was standing up like a human. This left the guy kind of shocked, and so he went to the nearest camp and was telling some old-timers who had lived up there for a long time what happened to him. They then told this kid that they have had so many weird experiences up there that nothing surprises them, and they have had far too many experiences to even talk about. My son said that they have met local Indians up there that say there is a creature that they call the Nunu. They are short, ugly little troll-like creatures. The only experience my son has had up there so far is that they were too far back from the base camp one day to hike back, so they were told to make camp in this uninhabited conservation corp building. It is used from time to time, but nobody lives or stays there for most of the year. Anyway, he told me he was laying down, about ready to go to sleep, and he heard a strange noise. It sounded like something came running up to the side of the building and made a noise that sounded like whop, and then ran off. He said it really scared the heck out of him, but he didn't try to go see what it was. Another report by Alexandra Lenhart, KMPH, Friday, October 13, 2017. Fresno County, California. We've all heard the stories of Bigfoot, people saying they've seen the legendary beast all over the country, and now another sighting in the Golden State. According to paranormal expert Jeffrey Gonzalez, the most recent sighting was near Avocado Lake. Gonzalez says a farmer saw a family of 5 or 6 Bigfoot running on his ranch in the middle of the night. One of them, which was extremely tall, had a pig over his shoulder, and the 5 scattered, and the one with the pig was running so fast it didn't see an irrigation pipe and it tripped, with the pig flying over, says Gonzalez. The story intrigued Gonzalez, but did not surprise him. In the last 5 years, there have been 3 Bigfoot sightings, all in the same area in East Fresno County. I would have never guessed in a million years that you would have told me there were Bigfoot on Shields or Ashland Avenue, right? So I want to know what's going on. Is this for real? Says Gonzalez. He says 5 years ago a woman called him saying her 2 sons had seen a Bigfoot in their orchard one afternoon. A few years later, Gonzalez received a call from a man who said he saw 5 Bigfoot in an orchard across the street from his house. Turns out it was the same orchard where the boys had seen the Bigfoot years before. And now a local farmer says he too has seen 5 Bigfoot on his property. What are the odds of 3 people, 3 different families who don't know each other within a radius of 2 to 3 miles come tell me what they witnessed and it matches up, says Gonzalez. On a Bigfoot expedition a few years ago, Gonzalez says he came back to his truck to find prints on his car. Those prints were tested by a local DNA expert. According to the test, the prints matched up to that of a gorilla. Gonzalez also had a footprint model he believes is a Bigfoot, retrieved from the orchard. I believe there's a lot more people out there who have seen things and are keeping it inside themselves. They don't want to go out and tell people. They don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be made fun of, says Gonzalez. He says now is the time to come out because he, along with several others in the valley, believe that Bigfoot is back. You don't have to look very far to find many stories or videos on Bigfoot within Yosemite. A lot of paranormal investigators base their work off searching in Yosemite for Bigfoot alone because of the vast amounts of stories from eyewitnesses. Legend of Pohono. Brideville Fall is 620 feet and flows almost throughout the whole year. Its source of the waterfall is Ostrander Lake, 10 miles south. When the wind blows hard, the water seems to blow sideways or doesn't seem to reach the ground much at all. This phenomenon inspired Native Americans to name it Pohono, or Spirit of the Puffing Wind. Several myths existed around Brideville Fall. Pohono was considered an angry spirit who was believed to have cursed the falls and put the lives of who ventured there in danger. It was said that the maidens who had been beckoned by the allure of the Pohono would be swept up and thrown to their death on the rocks below. The Alwani chief warned his tribe never to venture into its midst, as it was the abode of an evil spirit who would draw them to their death, as well as carry their spirit into Pohono's land of darkness and misery, and hold it captive until he secured another spirit. Ghosts. It is no mystery that all national parks have their own stories of hauntings because of tragic events, and Yosemite is no exception. Aside from all the compiled deaths from visitors, there were mass tragedies that happened there even before Yosemite was established as a national park. The Mariposa War from December 1850 to June 1851 was a conflict between the United States and the indigenous people of California, Sierra Nevada. It was also known as the Yosemite Indian War. In combination of both sides, it is estimated at just over 40 deaths. This ties into the curse of Tenaya's Canyon. The settlers, in an attempt to force the tribe to a reservation near Fresno, and had killed his son in the process. This inspired Chief Tenaya to curse the battalion captain and all white men who attempted to descend the canyon. Since then, many tales of mysterious accidents and unaccountable deaths are part of the canyon. The ghost at Gross Lake is possibly the oldest ghost in Yosemite, with witness accounts dating back to 1857, written by the park's first ranger, Galen Clark. Clark describes hearing a wailing sound that sounded like a puppy near Grouse Lake. When he asked the local tribe, they warned him to stay away from it. They also mentioned the spirit of a young boy who drowned there, and he calls out for help of anyone who wanders there. The Alwani Hotel was built in 1927 to serve as a luxury hotel to all of the park's visitors. Its name was changed in 2016 to the Majestic Yosemite Hotel due to legal disputes. Interestingly, although Hotel in Colorado was the main inspiration for the book The Shining, the interior of the Alwani Hotel played a large part of the inspiration for the movie set, and it comes with its own degree of creepiness. Both guests and staff have reported seeing a female ghost wandering the halls and hearing a creaking rocking chair in a suite on the 4th floor. The ghost is rumored to be a former manager named Mary Curry Tresitter. Yosemite Cemetery. The Yosemite Cemetery was the first burial grounds for the Miwok tribe and later on for the graves of European settlers. Bodie Ghost Town. Although it's an hour outside of Yosemite, it is something interesting to bring up. The population of Bodie once reached 12,000, but has since been abandoned. Inexplicable reports of smells of food, laughter of a little girl in the cemetery who was killed by a mining axe accidentally, and ghosts peering from windows are common there. It is said that anyone trying to steal anything from Bodie is subject to a curse. Yosemite View Lodge. Located on Merced River, the lodge appears to be peaceful, but has a reputation of being haunted. One guest reported that on her second night staying at the lodge, she awoke to see a shadow person standing near her bed. The figure had no distinguishable features, did not speak, and stood at the height of about 5 foot tall. Shadow people have been witnessed multiple times. Some call them river people, and that they are in connection with native spirits there. The entities usually disappear once they are noticed. Visitors have described being pinched, seeing full-body apparitions, items and baggage moving, and loud bangs. Feral people, or cannibals. I will say that, first off, the idea of feral people inside of Yosemite has been very difficult to find any information on. I almost didn't include it in this list for the fact it's been denied by many who are asked their opinion on whether or not there are any feral or wild people living within the park. The issue that brings speculation is that the idea is being denied too much. California unfortunately tops the list on homeless people at 161,548, and Yosemite is a very large protected park. And with all the missing people reports, it is plausible that the deaths have occurred at the hands of people who have made a home there. To me, the possibility would be higher than that of supernatural events. Although Yosemite is proven to be quite difficult to thrive in, there are many who have adapted to worse environmental conditions. After all, it has been proven that acts of cannibalism have occurred in other national parks. Wolf ape. Just like Yellowstone, Yosemite has a recent slew of reports concerning creatures that resemble a cross between a wolf and a human. There are also strange reports of what seems like ape-like features in combination with these attributes. From Sasquatch Chronicles, May 2016. There are stories of a strange creature with long gray mangy hair and the face of an ape or a baboon, and has both human-like hands and feet. It always appears to be sick, coughing, or foaming at the mouth. Legend calls it the devil ape or devil fang, but lately has gone by the name of the Watts Valley wolf ape. There are stories aplenty of the wolf ape that first Native Americans that came over the Bering Strait coexisted with the creature, and that there are even drawings of the strange creatures that have traveled with Native Americans. There is a story that the legendary photographer Ansel Adams was taking pictures in Yosemite one day when a pack of wolf apes came upon him while he was in his tent, and he had to stay there for safety. An even more peculiar story is that of a wolf ape entering a single-room schoolhouse one day and terrorizing the students and teacher. The children piled their desks together and climbed up to safety of the rafters, while the teacher locked himself in a closet. This is something I've just recently heard about, and since there are many eyewitness accounts, definitely something to research further. Of course, I would include werewolves and dogmen in this list, but there isn't much to go on outside the realm of Reddit and YouTube Reddit stories. UFOs and aliens. Being very close to Area 51 and located in the west, where countless UFO events are witnessed, it's no surprise that Yosemite has its fair share. In September 2002, a strange light was captured on video in eastern Yosemite. It slowly hovered, gliding through the air, leaving a luminous trail behind it before disappearing. According to the witness, Air Force jets soon came to the same location and circled the area. Mermaids, Hohape. The southern Miwok or the Merced River foothills say, some of the rivers are inhabited by Hohape, the river mermaids, or water women. The Hohape have long hair and are beautiful to look at. They usually live in deep pools and are known at several places at the Merced River. In that part of the river which runs through Awane, they have been seen a number of times. One lives now lower down the river, at the upper end of Pleasant Valley in the large round pool called Olwal. In the early days, 2 partners used to fish for salmon at Olwal, one on each side of the pool. Several times they saw hohape. Another lives in the deep water at the Barrett Ranch, a little below Pleasant Valley. At this place a few years ago, some Indians from Bear Valley and Coulterville came to catch salmon. They put their net in a deep place in the river, and it was full of fish. They tried to pull it out, but could not, for it was stuck on the bottom. Hohape, the water woman, had fastened it to a rock, but the men did not know this. One of them went to find where the net had caught and lift it up. While he was doing this, Hohape put a turn of the net rope around his big toe, and he was drowned. Then several of the men had to go down to get him. After they brought up his body, all of them saw Hohape in the pool below, and saw her long hair flowing out in the current. The story of Hohape, the river mermaid, varying more and less in details, reaches north at least to American River, where the Nisenan have the following version. 2 maidens walking along the American River below the foothills when they heard a baby cry. They followed the sound and soon saw the baby lying on a sandbar in the edge of the river. One of them reached down to pick it up when suddenly it changed to a Hosapa, the river mermaid, who, seizing the young woman, dragged her into the river. She cried out, and her companion took hold of her arm and pulled as hard as she could to save her. But Hosapa was the stronger, and dragged her under the water, and she was never seen again. The other maiden ran home to the village and told people about what happened. She was so terribly frightened that her mind became affected, and in a short time she died. Pterodactyls. Although often witnessed in Canada and northern Mexico, there are some places within the United States where these flying creatures are spotted, and Yosemite is one of them. Famous cryptozoologist Jonathan Whitcomb argues that pterodactyl-like creatures might be responsible for the disappearances. The creatures grab their prey by their clothes, but end up dropping those who slip out of their clothes. This could explain why sometimes clothes are found and not bodies. This might be what happened to Kenny Miller, who was reported missing in 1992. It's possible he was dropped by whatever flew him away. This could be why he was found without some of his clothes, and explain how he managed to end up halfway up a mountain. From WeirdFresno.com. I've written about large winged creatures flying over the Fresno area in the past, and most were described as large birds with near 15-foot wingspans. But while researching something else I came across the story of Scott Norman, who in 2007 saw a creature flying in the Fresno area and describing it akin to looking like a flying dinosaur called a pterosaur. Now Scott's sighting wasn't random. He had been informed of strange sightings in the area, and during summer of 2007, he came to investigate for himself. He was a seasoned investigator by this point, traveling around the world investigating different cryptid claims. His sighting occurred about 2 in the morning in a local rancher's field. He saw a large winged creature over one of the rancher's buildings and out in a nearby field. The description of the creature was that it had a wingspan of almost 10 feet, was completely featherless with wings like that of a bat, and had a crest-shaped object on its head, roughly 2 feet long. The creature glided silently overhead, and the entire sighting lasted no longer than 20 seconds, the most. Even the seasoned investigator Scott was skeptical and wasn't completely sure what he saw was indeed a pterosaur. What interests me about this story is that it isn't the first time a creature like this was seen in the area. Back in 1891, 2 creatures described as dragons were flying over the Selma area. The creatures were chased for 2 days, but unfortunately were never captured. Could these be the same creatures that have relation to whatever Scott saw over a century later? Unfortunately, this was the last time Scott was able to investigate these sightings, as he passed away in February 2008. This is another reason why I wanted to share his story. He did a lot in his short time on the earth, and I wanted to make sure others knew what he did. Whatever is going on in Yosemite has a lot of mysteries and theories surrounding it, aside from natural causes for death and disappearances. There are a lot of cases that just don't make any sense. One thing that is obvious is those who carry a weapon are usually safe, and sometimes are the ones who live to tell stories of unusual encounters. Most of the victims are children between 1 year to 12 years old and elderly 74 to 85. These statistics point to whatever is going on go after the weak and those who are vulnerable. 95% of these cases, bad weather follows the disappearances, removing any clues or footprints, making it difficult to carry out searches. In many missing children cases, the bodies are found miles away from where they were last seen alive, places they couldn't go on their own, and some without shoes on when their feet are intact. Sometimes just the shoes are found.